Okay, y'all, this is another boot review, but this is an extra special boot review because this boot, it's a Hanwag Tatra II GTX, which this model's been around for decades, is the most comfortable boot that I've ever bought or owned out of the box. It's literally ready to go. I already walked 5 miles in this pair right out of the box. No hot spots, nothing. It's perfectly ready to go. And there's a lot of reasons for that, which I'll get into. Hanwag, now, and also, of course, everybody's foot's different, but they do make 8 different styles, 4 for women and 4 for men, in narrow, standard, wide, and bunion. So they actually cater to that, so you don't have to get custom made boots, which are 5 times the price of these. You know, they're over $1,000 usually. So these are $360 normal price. They were on sale, and I got these for $215, which is US dollars, which is an unbelievable deal for this boot. This is literally probably the finest boot you can buy before you go to custom made boots. And arguably, it would be just as good as a custom made boot. They're made exactly the same way. It's just they would be made around a mold of your foot. They make a custom last with a custom boot. But these are the finest materials and craftsmanship. This particular pair is made in Croatia. The leather is Nubuck, full grain. This is the tannery information. If you want to stop it and read that, screenshot it. This boot was developed over many decades, and we'll get to the sole too. That was also custom developed for this boot. But starting at the upper, this is gusseted up here, and has the Gortex lining, as you can see. I'm a 13.5 to 14 usually, and this is a 14 US, 48.5 European, and it fits me perfectly with just enough room for thick socks in the toe. And anyways, that is neither here nor there because everybody's foot's different. But this is my roots go back to Northern Europe, so it probably is, the standard fit is similar to what other people that are from that heritage goes back to that region would have on average, right? Another thing that's great about this is that it has this heel system. The reason this is actually leather back here too, by the way. It's feels like a calf skin. I think it is a calf skin. But these cutouts and everything, this is what allows this boot to be like broken out of the box. It flexes with your heel. This is free, and it pulls up from your heel. And then these holes here, they help draw air out of the Gortex liner in here and keep the moisture going out, because the Gortex theoretically traps a little bit of moisture between the Gortex lining, which is right behind this fabric, and the outside leather. But the outside leather is Nubuck, which is a full grain style, just sanded a little bit. And you can see that the grain it lays down, it's got if you zoomed way in on it, you'd see it as a slightly furry, really low nap. Most people are familiar with Nubuck. But another thing about this boot that is amazing is the lacing system. This lacing system is only on one other manufacturer that I know of, but this ball bearing lacing system, this allows, when you tighten this boot, for everything to get tight at the same time. You see how it pulls evenly all the way down because it goes through these ball bearings really fluidly, and so it doesn't hang up at one spot, and it goes all the way up to these these eyelets up here, so you don't end up with it super tight up here and loose down here. And that's huge, especially when you're lacing up really quickly. And then it also has a lockout on this. I mean, it would obviously be this one that comes over. This locks out, so you can lock out your fit, so you have a precise fit and a snug fit, or you can loosen it up, and you can lock it out here and then tie it off on any of these, depending on how challenging your situation is. If you're in scree or bouldering with a heavy pack, you're going to want to lace to the top. I do normally just lace to here, but this hardware, this is one of the most expensive components in a boot, and that's why most manufacturers don't step up for this. But this is probably my single, well, I don't know. There's so many things about this boot that are just as good as, the best in class. But it's one of my top two, I'd say, favorite features. Three. I'd say the lacing system, the sole, and the fit are my three favorite things about this boot. But there's nothing I don't like about it, other than it not having a rubber rand all the way around. But actually the top version of this boot does. And then it also comes in a lining, a leather lining. It's called LL. This is the GTX version, which means it has Gore-Tex. But the leather lined version is actually, that's a traditionalist approach, and it actually breathes better than Gore-Tex leather lining. And it also molds to your foot better over time. So if you are somebody that doesn't mind, retreating your leather, this is already treated from the factory with Beeswax proprietary blend, but you can waterproof these over and over and over again with Snow Seal or anything like it that's based on beeswax. And you don't really need the Gore-Tex. What the Gore-Tex does for you is it keeps the water, keeps your socks from getting wet at the end of the day. So even if the whole boot's drenched, it's soggy, like sopping wet, the water will stop at the Gore-Tex, assuming the integrity of the lining is in place, and your boot and your socks will not get wet. But you still have heavy wet boots at that point, and they're cold also when they get all wet and it's cold outside. So you don't want that to happen. Anyways, I digress a bit there. This also has this protection on the heel. I'm not quite sure if you'd call that part of the, I guess you'd call it part of the rand. Normally they refer to the, this is rand here. But getting into my other favorite feature on this boot early on in this review is the sole. The sole is amazing. This is a Adam Weger sole. It was developed with Vibram, with a Hanwag, I think, product development lead, and it was. This is one of the best soles I've ever come across from Vibram. It has the features that I covet. It literally has this area up here is super important. See the way this sole, it slopes back in the front. And the way that I walk, not only, and it also has a rocker that encourages your foot to rock forward, so it makes your walking a little bit more efficient. But this is really important. This, I tend to push off on my toe when I walk, and you won't notice this if you do it too, unless you're walking on hard dirt with like sand on top. You'll notice if you do this, your toe will slip as you pick up your rear foot. And I hate that, because that's a loss of efficiency in walking. So this actually prevents as much of that as possible. And these are 6mm lugs, so they're actually pretty aggressive. And then they're also, sloped out so they can shed mud. That's a self-cleaning feature. And then you have this feature right here, which is these are facing back, so they're gripping when you're walking forward. These are facing forward, so they're gripping when you're going downhill, which is important because you do, of course, because of physics, your foot's rocked forward when you're going downhill. So this part of your foot's going to do a lot of the braking. And then it also has the same thing in the rear. So if you start falling, hopefully this will grip. You would put more of your weight on this if you're back on your heels. But it has this system even on the back of the sole. So, and then this sole also has, kind of this is part of the sole. This little rand right here. And the back has just exactly the right amount of shock absorption. And I'm a big person. I weigh well over 200 pounds, and this is great for me. I can't wear spongy, soft shoes. Or I can, but I ruin them, and I can't carry a pack with them. With the big fat, injection molded soles, or those just don't work. These work great, and they're just comfortable enough for heel strikes, even on concrete, but they clearly will last a long, long, long time. So they're not going to wear out. I wear out tennis shoes in about 300 miles. I lose my support. I destroy the sole. So you probably have that problem too and don't even know it if you're a large person that walks a lot. So anyways, this is exclusive to Hanwag, this sole. There's some other ones out there that have a similar setup, but it's a really big deal for a hiking boot. And of course, the boot is one of the finest made, and it's made in a couple of different places. They're made in Croatia, and this one's made in Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, and then in Germany they make some of their boots. They're stitched down, Norwegian Stormwelt construction, and I think Hungary. There's the other place that they make their boots. I think I mentioned the Nubuck leather is 2.2 to 2.6 millimeters. And obviously they use the finest materials. That's about as good as it gets. You can go to a heavier leather, but it's unnecessary and it weighs more. You can get, leather, maybe not so much in Europe, but like American leather will be as much as 3 millimeters, sometimes even 3.5 millimeters thick on like a Pacific Northwest boot. But those boots weigh 5 pounds each. These weigh 1,520 grams in size 8. So just for a frame of reference, about 550 grams is a pound. So the pair weighs 3 pounds. So they're 1.5 pounds each. So the high top's probably going to add 0.5 pound if you get the top version. But that is a pretty light for a boot this rugged. And these boots are going to hold up if you're like walking on rocks. I've blown out shoes along here by walking just on rocks on the beach for miles, but many miles and many days. It will ruin a shoe because the rocks are constantly sanding away at the material, but this will hold up. So it's a very important thing. And this is a cup sole. So this is part of the sole, and it's like a bathtub. And it's glued on, and they're quite easy to resole, and Hanwag will do that for you too. You could probably get it done cheaper locally, although I don't know if they'll send this sole to a local cobbler, maybe an authorized cobbler, but that's something we'd have to look into. This is considered a boot for trekking and backpacking. It's not so much a mountaineering boot because you can see it doesn't have the clip-in for crampons. But people that own these and have reviewed them say you can use them for that purpose. But you have to use strap-on crampons and so forth. Additionally, this is on the rating systems on how much flex a boot has. They either have like a 1 to 5 system that a lot of hunters use, or a ABCD system. This is considered a BC, or probably a 3. like a 2.5 to 3 in the hunt, like more what hunters use for rating the stiffness of their boot. So it's just the right amount. This is the most comfortable boot I've ever owned, right out of the box, and it's ready to go. I could walk 100 miles in 5 days on this boot, no problem, right out of the box. It makes me want to walk. And they say, like, I've heard this from somebody else, so unfortunately I didn't make it up. When you find the right boot, it feels like home. And this boot is home for me. So once again, though, maybe it won't be for you because feet are different. But if you have a standard foot, mine's not standard size, but it's a standard width, and the symmetry of my foot is relatively standard. This boot is perfect. The standard, and that's why if I needed a wide or a narrow or a bunion, I wouldn't have been able to get it on sale because that wasn't on sale. Just the standard was. So, and I did mention that these come in women's sizes too. And one of the reasons that women need a different boot is their calf muscle actually attaches lower on the leg. So men's boots cause problems for them. And that is a big deal as well. And it's something that you want to consider if you're buying a boot as a woman. Trying to think of other things that you might want to know about this. I believe this is about the best boot you can buy without going full custom, which would be 4 times what I paid for this at least, and 3 times the sticker price at $360 US. A custom boot is going to be at least $1,000 for the most part, and from any reputable maker. They're usually made by hand, and not arguably they're no better. They're just different. This has triple stitching back here. It has double stitching all along here. All the finest materials are used because the company prides itself on this. And this is Hanwag was sold to a larger group. But the group is out of Sweden. It's called Phoenix Group, and they actually they are dedicated to quality and maintaining the craftsmanship of their products. They actually own Fjallraven as well, which is a very, very good manufacturer of clothing and for hiking. I'll review a pair of their G1000 pants at some point. But yeah, this is just an amazing boot. And people that hike really long distances, I'll link an article of a guy that hikes hundreds and hundreds of miles. This is his favorite boot because it kind of go anywhere, do anything boot. You can just layer up as long as you got a large enough size, a half size or so, or a full size bigger than your foot. You can layer up with heavy and thin wool socks with this and make it into more or less a winter boot. If you're going to do that a lot, you might want to think about going to a wide as well, just because you should have wiggle room in your toes, even when you have thick socks on or 2 layers of socks. And if you're doing it a lot, you're probably buying their Alaska version, which also comes in, I believe, in a leather lined and a Gore-Tex, and that's an insulated boot. I don't remember what the insulation factor is on it. Probably 200 grams insulate, which is pretty standard for a walking or hunting boot. If you go above that on insulation on a boot, your feet are going to get too warm. So I have some work boots that have 400, and when I'm up in like Canada in the really cold regions, that's great because I'm not hiking with those. They're more of a work boot, but they are too warm for other situations. And let's look at so this is just getting into the weeds on the construction. This boot is so well designed. Like the heel area, the way it traps, you can't really see it, but it has the padding goes way in down there. You can kind of see it. It goes in and it really traps your heel right out of the box, right from the factory. And this allows you, the way the tongue stays out like that, opens this all up, and it allows the boot to dry out really quick after hiking. And they have their insole, which looks really breathable. It actually looks like wool on the bottom, but it's thin. You know, people, and then this is part of their insole here. That is a hard plasticky material. I forgot what that material actually is, but that is. You can put like a super feet. A lot of people like super feet, but a lot of people also say that like the Dr. Scholl's, you know, arch support insoles are really good, and those are like 15, 20 bucks, maybe 25 at your local pharmacy. You can get them anywhere. So if you want a little bit more cushion, be careful not to get too thick though, because if you get too thick, it's going to change the fundamentals of the boot. So you got to be careful about that. But this is really good for accepting like orthotics, because this is your midsole here, and then it's the sole after that. So an orthotic's going to give you even more of a custom foot if you wear an orthotic. But don't forget to order the boot large enough for that. So you might want to size up a half a size if you're putting a thicker orthotic or insole in this, and then maybe think about getting the wide if you have a standard width foot. Definitely, if you have a wide foot, you're going to need a wide. Because these are originally made, this company's been around since 1921, so it's over 100 years old, and they have many, many lasts that they build their boot on, and I'll link to those so you can look at them. They actually are made for Northern Europeans, which tend to have slightly wider you know, ball of their foot, the toe box. So they make them a little bit wider. They're a little wider in a standard than than an Italian boot, like your Zamberlin or La Sportiva of the world. And you know, just a side note, Zamberlin is probably the next best boot, but they don't have the ball bearing lacing system, which is really, so if they fit you, that's a fine boot as well. Very well made. Really, really beautiful finish on them. So anyways, these have beautiful finish too. I wish that they made these in black. They do make them in gray, which I like, but wasn't on sale. So I got the brown, and I mean, I don't know. I guess you could dye them, right? I don't think I'd do that because it could change the integrity of the leather, the Nubuck. But yeah, that pretty much covers it. I'm trying to think of other details that you might want to know about these. Yeah, this is really nice too. This is leather, the lining in the top of the boot there, with a perforated system there. This boot is amazing. It makes you want to walk. You just want to. I'm actually going to go on a 5-mile hike today with these, maybe 10. So, and they put on there that it's resoleable. That's what that little thing says in German and English. And what else? I'm trying to think of what I might have missed here on this boot. What did I miss? There's probably not much. Anyways, I think these are definitely worth checking out. If you're going to buy a boot, you have a normal width foot, and you just want to go straight to the best you can get, this is the way to go. And don't forget to size up a little bit. But and once again, be careful when you buy boots, because some of the manufacturers, when they convert to US sizes, they round down and some round up. A good example is Zamberlin. Zamberlin rounds up, so their 13 is a 48, but some people's 13 is a 47.5 or maybe even a 47. So be careful when you do that. Look into it. See if you can look at the tag on the inside if you're buying it used or something. Look for a picture of the tag, or ask the seller to tell you what the European size is. And you should know what your European size is, because all the best boots are made, not all, but most of the best boots are made for hiking are made in Europe. There's a few, reputable U.S. manufacturers, but not many. Really, I can only think of two. But I think that's it, and I hope you all have a great day, and happy hiking, happy trekking, all of that. Talk to you later.